It's been just a little over 25 years from the time of this review when Star Ocean first appeared on the Super Famicom in 1996. The game pushed the console to its limits alongside Tales of Phantasia, but both never saw official English releases, with developer Enix closing its American branch at the end of 1995 due to its low sales, in Star Ocean's case, and Nintendo wanting to focus on marketing the Nintendo 64, though thankfully you can experience how these technical marvels worked in English on the Super Nintendo through fan translation patches. Now we're covering the 6th main game in the Star Ocean series, with Star Ocean: The Divine Force. This game was released as part of the celebrations of the series' 25th anniversary, and I was pretty excited to get into it given that I'm pretty big into the series, and I personally consider Star Ocean: The Second Story as my favourite JRPG of all time. For full enjoyment, I will try to make this review as spoiler free as I can, though you will see late gameplay footage out of context. For transparency, a copy of this game was provided to me courtesy of a PR network. For the first time since Star Ocean: The Second Story, and by extension its remake Second Evolution, the game features dual protagonists. Taking place 46 years after the 5th main game, Star Ocean: Integrity and Faithlessness, you can choose to play the game as Raymond Lawrence, the captain of the merchant ship Edis, which gets destroyed by a Pan-Galactic Federation ship. Thankfully, Raymond and his crew are able to escape, and Raymond, whom I'll shorten to Ray from this point on, as well as his subordinate Chloe, crash land on Asta 4, an underdeveloped planet. Unfortunately, Ray and Chloe land on different parts of the planet, and Ray's landing catches the attention of Laetitia Orsarius, the crown princess of the Kingdom of Orsarius, and her knight Albaird. Laetitia is currently on a secret mission to locate Midas Felgreed, an engineer as well as a semiomancer or spellcaster to help her kingdom, which is on the brink of war. Midas once held a position of power in the kingdom but was exiled due to a certain event, with otherwise members of the kingdom leaving with him. This event severely soured the relationship between the kingdom and Midas, as well as the people who left him, since the decision to exile him was ultimately made by Laetitia's father, the current king. Together, the three will embark on a journey where they'll meet new friends and allies and be part of events that will change their lives forever. But, is this game any good? Find out in The Good. Let's start with the game's story. As the game features dual protagonists, the story is slightly different depending on who you pick. Ray's story will feature more sci-fi elements, while Laetitia's will focus more on the fantasy aspect. For this review, I've gone with Ray's story. Depending on who you pick also determines which character you will have available, as Ray and Laetitia will each have a unique character that will become a permanent member of your party depending on who you pick as a main character. Certain playable events where the party is split up will also change according to who you pick as well, which really encourages replayability. The game's story does touch on some of the things established and fleshed out from previous Star Ocean games as well. In Ray's case, for example, he has to be a little careful about using and showing the inhabitants of Asta 4 the technology of where he's from, since a key part of the Star Ocean universe is the Pan-Galactic Federation's Underdeveloped Planet Preservation Pact, or UP3 for short, which was established to protect underdeveloped planets from being influenced by the technology of spacefaring civilizations, as it can disrupt the natural development of those planets. However, this rule more or less applies to anyone affiliated with the Federation. Ray's from a planet that isn't on the best of terms with them, so he can be a little more relaxed about it. In Laetitia's case, the other party members are amazed as well as confused by the technology and wealth of knowledge that Ray and his allies bring to them, being able to hear voices from seemingly out of nowhere, as well as the knowledge to combat illness. Regardless of who you pick, I found the story a little slow to start with, but soon picks up as you start uncovering the forces at play. It was a little predictable at points, which is generally the case with most JRPGs, but I enjoyed the experience overall. The gameplay was another aspect of the game that I enjoyed. Enemies appear on the map and the game will seamlessly switch from exploring the map to battle. A key aspect to this game is the inclusion of the Duma unit that Ray was transporting prior to being attacked. Duma allows the party to fly around briefly when exploring the area, as well as detect hidden treasure. In battle, it's used to enhance the controllable character's movement, as well as play a part in skills. Ray, for example, can use Duma to ram into his opponents, dealing damage. Later on, you can also unlock a defensive mode for Duma, as well as vatting moves, with each character having their own unique move once the appropriate gauge is filled. Attacks and skills now take up AP, and while you start from a loaded save or initially with a small amount of AP, Blindsiding enemies or catching them by surprise will increase the AP points for you to use, allowing you to chain skills that you can set beforehand together. Your teammates can and will only use the skills that you have assigned to them in combat as well. You can also change characters while exploring or battling too. When exploring the villages, towns and cities in game, you also have access to private actions, a staple of the Star Ocean series. The party generally splits up when you enter a town or a city, and by interacting with them and answering certain questions, you'll get to know the characters a little better. This also adds to a hidden affection meter which affects which character ending you'll get. I did enjoy the private actions as it provides a more personal touch, and you do get to see some of the sillier sides of some characters too. But most importantly, the biggest time sink of all, item creation. Another key feature of Star Ocean is its item creation feature, where you can use materials that you buy, find or get from defeating enemies to make new items, or well, have a chance of making a new item. It could work out brilliantly, or the results could be worse or disastrous. This game's item creation feature is locked and slowly unlocked behind a side quest involving the recurring character Welch Vineyard. But spending time making new items and ultimately customising them was an expensive but really fun time, even if the features isn't as good or as involved as previous entries. The game also has a mini-game called Esoa, where you and an opponent would place pieces on a board with numerical values that deal damage. Pieces have set classes with certain effects, and if a piece or pieces are surrounded by opposing pieces, they are removed from the board. Higher ranked pieces will have a larger number value which reflects how much damage they do to your opponent's health. As you play and get pieces, you can eventually start challenging stronger opponents who will give you better pieces, or if you're lucky enough, you can make your own. Pieces are generally from other Star Ocean games, though there are cameo pieces from other Tri-Ace games such as Valkyrie Profile and Radiata Stories, though those are pre-order bonuses. The gameplay I found kept me entertained and heavily contributed to the 90 plus hours I've spent in it. The game's music is another thing worth talking about too. To avoid the Valkyrie Elysium review where I actually enjoyed the music but my choice of words unintentionally said otherwise, the music is composed by series regular Motoi Sakuraba, and it was an absolute treat to listen to. The music sets the tone of the situation as well as the setting, and even the battle theme being different depending on the main character chosen, with Rei having a more progressive rock orientated theme, and Laetitia having a more epic orchestral theme with little hints of Sakuraba's previous work. Personally, Laetitia gets the better end of the deal in terms of battle themes, it's no contest there. It is really cool how the style of music Sakuraba uses matches the background of the main character, and this is also reflected by the background music of the various places you go to. So it's safe to say that Motoi Sakuraba's score for this game, and I can say the same about the other Star Ocean games, does not disappoint. If anything, it's hard to have a Star Ocean game without his music in it. However, the game does have its flaws, so let's look at those in. The bad. The game does have its share of performance issues, and as I only played the PS5 version of the game, I'll comment on issues that I've come across on that platform. The first issue I had actually began when I started up the game and has persisted throughout my playthrough. The game just seemingly takes a long time to load past the splash screen and into the game itself. I later found out that this could be fixed by turning off the connection to the internet on the PlayStation 5, which loaded the game just fine in seconds. But I don't know why it needs to take a good 7 minutes just to load the game if I happen to have the console connected to the internet. There's also areas that result in frame drops for me, even with the game prioritising the frame rate. Actually, if I can pinpoint it, the game runs fine until I reach a location called Nilbith Ancient Coil, in which there will be sporadic areas where the game's frame rate will drop. Not entirely sure why Nilbith Ancient Coil would tank the frame rate, as it's a pretty small area compared to the Royal City, but thankfully these frame drops didn't overly spoil the experience I had in the game. It was a noticeable nuisance though. I also found the game to be a bit on the easy side, even on harder difficulties. I often found myself over-leveled and having new members join the team at significantly lower levels to my party, which I generally use as an indicator of how strong I should be at the time. There will come a point where you have access to a cave featuring very powerful monsters. You can actually cheese these fights by attacking the monsters, dealing damage and then escaping the battlefield. Unless you go past a certain point, the enemy's health will not go back up, so you can proceed to ambush them over and over again until you prevail. Each time you successfully chain ambush an enemy, the experience and money, or fall on the series rate, goes up. Some of those enemies drop some valuable materials which, if you have good skills and talents in item creation, can be used to create a majority of the party's ultimate weapons, increasing your attack power by several thousand and making the process even easier. You can get some powerful armor through item creation or drops by enemies this way, and it's the best way to get all the skill points you need to level up your attacks and stats. The level cap of this game is 255, and you can get there in no time if you know what you're doing, leaving the post-game enemies to be the only viable threat to you and your team. Other than that, I have nothing else to complain about here, so let's wrap things up with the opinion. I really enjoyed my time with Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I think it's definitely a return to form for the Star Ocean series, since I wasn't so big on The Last Hope or Integrity and Faithlessness, which were the last two main entries in the series. The dual protagonists, with slightly different stories as well as the gameplay and music, were done very well, and what I would expect from a Star Ocean game, though it is let down by the odd technical issue and the game's difficulty. I will admit that the visual art style as well took a while to grow on me compared to other JRPGs, but the good aspects were more than enough to keep me going as I powered through the game. If you're big on space operas or JRPGs, then Star Ocean is definitely a series to pick up. You don't need to know the details of previous games to enjoy this one, though there are callbacks and references that would make more sense if you did play them, so it is beginner friendly. This game is easily one of the better ones in the series, though it would be hard to top Second Story / Second Evolution since you can't improve on perfection. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Star Ocean: The Divine Force this giant pink bunny out of 10. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.